Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to watch 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. As I always say, everything I'm saying here is completely speculative based on very little information. Let's watch.
It's so surprising. I think in you marry us again.
I'm suited up if you're ready to go for it.
Oh my
Congratulations to you. It's great to see you. You like the surprise?
Grandparents promise not give attention for us, not celebration waiting, but now with center. And it's so annoying.
Shall we go introduce some more?
So I'm confused going both directions. On one hand, when the parents are like, hey, we're going to have this birthday party, how about we also celebrate your marriage? I think a lot of couples would just say, oh, okay, sure, why not? What do we have to do? It's not much, right? People, maybe a speech or two or something. Now, if Brandon and Julia are shy, then they're like, look, I don't like crowds of people. I don't like to be put on the spot. But they're on a reality TV show, so I'm going to take a guess and say that they're not good candidates for that. So on some level, I was a little confused as to why they pushed back. But they did, which is totally fine. They pushed back and said, no, we don't want that. You can celebrate your birthday, and let's do that. So on one hand, I was like, why were they so uptight about it? But they're free to have their wishes and their boundaries. I think it was mostly because they were worried, based on the track record with the mom was going to invade. And if I was to take a guess, I would say that Brandon and Julia have been frequently having to push back on the mom. And they just have a policy now that whenever the mom asks them to do anything, they just automatically push back because it's reflexive at this point, even when it's not necessarily a big deal for them. But that's fine. So they push back, and then the mom just goes ahead and it was pretty clear from the clip from last week or 2 weeks ago that the Brandon and Julia were just like, no, maybe I can't remember what they said. It was like this tiny little element of the wedding reception as a part, but 99% of the party was going to be the dad's birthday. Okay. So then the mom goes ahead, then the dad, without asking them, totally against their wishes, their explicit wishes, and said, we're going to have it half and half. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Is it because the parents feel like they're not doing their cultural duty because they got married during the pandemic and so they couldn't invite anyone? Do they feel like, because there's a tradition, and I find older people are like this, maybe not, maybe I shouldn't generalize that way, but there's a tradition where the parents of the people getting married will feel like it's not just a wedding for the kids, but it's also a wedding for them. It's a chance for them to invite all their friends and to show off, to have a good time and to celebrate their own kids. And for some people, it's a narcissistic endeavor, and for some people, it's just a social endeavor and a cultural endeavor. And I feel like sometimes there's a generation gap there where the people getting married are like, why are you making this wedding about you? This is a wedding about me. Whereas in some cultural pockets, even in the United States, it's not just the people getting married, it's the family's deal as well. And again, if there's a lot of communication about that, they can kind of work that out so that there's no misunderstanding or hurt feelings. So is it that the parents are doing, or is just another example about how the parents don't listen to Brandon and Julia's wishes and they just bulldoze as a general rule? They're just like, well, that's what I want to do, and so that's what's going to happen. In a similar way that you would treat like a 10-year-old. Like a 10-year-old might say something like, well, I don't want to go to school today. In fact, I'm dropping out of school. And the parent would say, well, that's just not going to happen. You're going to go to school. And you bulldoze the 10-year-old, but you do it because it's age appropriate and it makes sense. So I wonder if the parents just haven't graduated to the next phases of parenting, and they're still in that mindset of Brandon is their little boy, and they think they know best. That's probably what it is, based on past experience with them. They probably think we know best. Brandon and Julia don't know what they're doing. Sure, they told us not to do this, but we know best. We know better, and we're going to do it anyway. That seems to be a theme.
Yeah.
Give us just a minute. We're just going to go settle in. We're going to go get a drink.
This is not just about control. I think in Betty do everything for party, show like I do what I want to. And you guys tell what you want to tell, but I don't care.
Right. I mean, that's certainly the message that you'd be getting if you're Brandon and Julia, that the parents just don't care. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your wishes. They don't care about embarrassing you. They're just going to do whatever they want. I don't think it's malicious. It certainly could be, but certainly that's the way it comes across.
Here you go. So, I don't want to look stupid in front of my family. They didn't have anything to do with this, so...
What should think will happen? Be like happy about this? It's okay, it's fine. Brian here.
Well, I like Brian.
Him's so nice, but why him here?
So, Brandon is, on some level, rational. He's like, well, we can't really get out of it now because, for us to pull out of it, like, it's going to embarrass everyone. And so let's just get through this. And then if we ever run into a situation like this again, we will just draw extremely firm boundaries. So on some level, I get where Brandon was coming from. But this is running into a very old tape for the two of them where Julia, is being rational. And Brandon is now going to say, what's wrong with you? Where Brandon, because of his potential dependency issues, will side with the mom and the dad because he's used to doing that. He's used to having, this is actually kind of interesting little snippet. I wonder, again, total speculation, Brandon throughout his life has been invaded and enmeshed with and has never been allowed to think for himself and to be himself and to feel competent in the world. And right now, the mom is bulldozing and saying, no, this is what we're going to do. I know what's best for you. I even know what you want. I honestly believe, well, no, I shouldn't say that. I wouldn't be surprised if the mom actually did this, the joint party, thinking that, well, I know what's best for my son. I know he told me. In fact, I wonder if she even thinks that Julia is the one that didn't want the party. And she's like, well, I know my son wants to have the party, so I'm going to do it anyway. And just bulldozed on that level. Maybe it's even an attempt to drive a wedge between the two of them. Anyway, probably not. But the issue here is, so parents are bulldozing, and Brandon is now potentially being triggered by that. He's had a lifetime of that invasive enmeshment, I'm going to take over. And so he knows it's better to just go along with it based on or he thinks it's better to go along with it based on his history. And so he's like, okay, what do I do? Well, I know how to do that. I know what to do. I know to please my mom, to go along with her, to resent it the whole time, and to be kind of adolescently checked out the whole time. But I'll do it fine. And I need her to come along with me, and I need Julia to come along with me. And I'm not mature enough. I don't have the differentiation or the skills to be able to own my own feelings and to respect my wife's and to know she is entitled to her feelings. And so I'm just going to treat Julia the way my mom treats me, which is to go, Julia, you're too emotional. What's wrong with you? Stop it. So I'm worried that that's where it's going to go.
Of course, we talk about it later. If she give more surprise, I just leave this party.
You need to yell at your mother. You need to tell everyone what you really feel.
Mm-hmm. By that...
Because I'm not tell your parents what I really feel because it's not my parents.
And again, from the very beginning of watching Brandon and Julia, it makes sense that Julia would say that and want that. It's rational. But what it ignores is the relational traumas and the personality distortions that Brandon might have. I don't know. To just shake Brandon and be like, be different, is akin to saying, erase your brain and start over with a new personality. It doesn't work like that. People like Brandon, and I don't know, but people with dependency issues, I should say, it takes years and years of therapy to heal from that. And even then, you're only like 50% down the road usually.
Hey, Brandon and Julia, congratulations on your wedding. They were just married, and we didn't get to have a reception for them. So we thought just a little token to have everybody here to enjoy. I'd like to invite Brian, who was the minister at Brandon and Julia's wedding, to come up and just say a few words.
Yikes. Yeah, I just have to wonder what's motivating the parents in this situation. Is it that the parents just think, well, we know what's best, so we're going to do it anyway. We know, it's similar to when your 16-year-old son, you go in to hug him and he's like, I don't want to hug, but you sort of know that he wants a hug, so you hug him anyway. I'm not saying you're supposed to non-consensually hug your 16-year-old sons, but it's sort of a script that 16-year-old boys might follow, which is, I don't want to hug, I don't need that kind of, when, they kind of do. So you might just bulldoze in that situation, knowing what's best because you're the parent and you're going to take the high road. Does the mom think she's doing that? Is the mom trying to keep Brandon in a child state because she's anxiety? She has anxiety about Brandon moving away, so this is an attempt to invade his brain and to keep him down? That doesn't seem likely. People aren't usually psychopathic in that way. Does the mom have some sort of traumas around lack of ceremony? I mean, there's just, I don't know. Something's going on, and I would love to talk with the mom. I never will be able to, about why.
And forever love, y'all. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Stand up.
I mean, who wouldn't want a party and a cake, but that's not the point. I'm tired of being treated like a child.
Right. So this makes total sense. It's not just the party, it's what this represents to Brandon. And it's interesting that Brandon is now starting to say these words. It's not just Julia. Brandon is now starting to say it. I've been wondering from the beginning if Brandon is going to switch, if he is dependent, if he's going to switch his dependency from the mom onto Julia and just continue to not heal from the dependent personality spectrum. I'm not diagnosing him. I really have no idea, but I wonder if we'll see some evidence of that.
Talk to you for a minute?
Yeah.
I just feel personally disrespected and hurt. It's not okay.
Okay, so we've seen conversations like this before. Now, usually, what I will say is like healthy ways that we might be able to talk, but given what I believe to be their dynamic, we wouldn't expect them to be super healthy in this moment. So what would we hope for? We could only really realistically hope for not terribly dysfunctional. And just the fact that Brandon is going to say anything means that actually this is probably heading towards health. It kind of depends, though, because I think they will switch roles sometimes where mom talks down to Brandon and then Brandon talks down to mom. I'm kind of worried that that's going to happen. Instead of Brandon saying something like, so let's imagine the most healthy thing. Brandon could go to the mom and say, Mom, I know that you love me. I know you care about me, and I love you, and I care about you. I don't understand why you did what you just did here. I know it's just a party. It's innocent. But it's the principle of the matter. We asked you not to do this, and you did it anyway. And it's not a terrible thing. You threw a party, but it's just another example how you don't listen to me. You don't respect my wishes. And I suspected you were going to do this, and it just really hurts me. And it makes me not want to ever do anything with you because I don't know when you're going to blindside me with something, and it just really hurts. Okay, so that would be on that end. But what could we reasonably expect from him? Something like, Mom, knock it off. But I think to stay in the dysfunctional pattern, he will talk down to her and belittle her. Let's watch.
Mom, we talked about this. I thought you really understood.
I didn't think that you were that adamant about it.
We said no wedding stuff.
Really?
So this is interesting. I don't know if we have seen Brandon this overtly distressed. Normally, I think he stuffs his feelings and avoids. But right now, he's like visibly distressed. You can hear it in his voice. Now, the mom's probably going to get defensive and say, really, it's just a party. So let's hope that Brandon can say something like, it's fine. It's just a party, but it's the principle of the matter, Mom. You don't listen to me. I ask you to do things, and you just do another thing. It hurts. Let's see what he said.
You're upset that I got you a cake and that we want everybody to just be happy about your wedding? Really? I just couldn't imagine how somebody could be rude and uncaring and so ungrateful.
Interesting. I think it's just so fascinating. I would love to know the history of the mom's life. What led her to this place? Because she's saying the exact same thing that everyone would say to her, that she's the one being disrespectful. but now she is saying he is disrespectful. And that's part of that enmeshment. And you'll see it. It's actually really weird and eerie. So you hear me talk about differentiation between thinking and feeling, but there's a differentiation between self and other. And when we lack differentiation in general, then we lack differentiation both. And one of the aspects of lack of differentiation between self and other, Brandon and the mom definitely have signs, red flags of severe enmeshment, that you can't really determine where you and the other person begins and ends. And you'll hear the other person saying things that you feel like you should be saying, and vice versa. So the mom should be thinking about how she disrespected him. Instead, she's like, he is disrespecting me, because of that inability to kind of sift through who is who and what's what.
He would have never have done that if Julia hadn't been there. And I really starting to think that she's trying to turn him against us.
Right. So this was some sort of litmus test or something, or they knew that Brandon wanted to do this anyway. This is very consistent and very concerning, that Brandon would say, and it seemed to be clearly coming from him, that he's like, look, I don't want to have that kind of a party. And even if it was Julia that was influencing him, who cares? Let the adults who are, 28 years old by now, make their own choices in life, okay? But this is unfortunate, because so now they have this ongoing narrative that Julia is the invader from across the world, taking our son away from us. And all the defiance and all the boundary making that he is exhibiting towards us isn't him, it is Julia. Now, you could argue that that's even true. You could argue that Brandon's boundary making isn't about him, it is about Julia. It seems to be, at least in this instance, at least partially about Brandon's issues as well. But yeah, I mean, on one level, at some point, Brandon and Julia are going to move out, and it'll be all just a moot point. But while they're living there, this issue will continue to crop up.
You know what? I'm starting to think Julia's right. Maybe you just can't respect our boundaries.
That's a boundary? You said, don't have another wedding. I respected that.
This is just not respect what we want. And happy birthday, Ron, and we leave this party.
Fine.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Now, maybe this is a step in the right direction. Maybe for the relationship, the enmeshed relationship, this is a necessary step, an unfortunate necessary step for them to de-enmesh. Hopefully that's what we're looking at. But this also could be, because one of the things that Bowen found when we try to de-enmesh ourselves is we will actually cut ourselves off from someone. But that is just another form of fusion. It's not actually healthy to just cut yourself off. I mean, it can be for you if it helps, but the fusion in your mind could still be happening, and your tendency to enmesh and not to know who you are can continue. The opportunity for Brandon in this moment, if we were to do family of origin work, and you can listen to my episodes on family of origin work, is to interface with the mom in a way where you stand tall, where you don't lose your composure as best as you can. You might even have prepared statements. I've actually worked with clients on that. And you figure it out while you're thinking straight, and you go to the mom and you say, here's what I want to say. Mom, I love you. You're great. You've raised me really well, all these things, but you really don't respect my boundaries. You've never done that. You think this is Julia's fault. No, this is me. And I want to have a good relationship with you, but it needs to change in the following ways. You have to listen to me more, because it really hurts when you. So that action, if you really hold firm and stand tall and rise to the occasion and give the person the benefit of the doubt, then you differentiate more through that. That's what family of origin work is you work out that unfinished business that you have with your family of origin not in a confrontational way like you jerk face. You actually stand tall and you take care of, this is what assertiveness is. You take care of the other person while you assert yourself, and you actually will mature, and all those other aspects tend to follow, where your ability to think straight is, your ability to differentiate between thoughts and emotions becomes greater, your ability to differentiate between self and other, your ability to trust yourself, your ability to trust others. I found that to work. When you actually have a more healthy, unfinished business conclusion with your family of origin, I'm sure we're not going to see that. But that would be my hope, I guess. All right, well, that does it for that episode. If you want to comment below, we do an episode on the weekend where I respond to your comments because I'm always curious what y'all have to say. Sometimes I learn a lot from you, so if you have things to inform me on culture or your own experiences, I'd love to hear about it. Also, if you want to join the conversation, there's a bunch of links below where you can join the Discord and the Facebook fan page, the official Facebook page, the Instagram, the subreddit, the Twitter, all the different things. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.